Woke up this morning, suddenly realized we are all in this together. I started smiling, 'cause you were smiling, and we're all in this together. I'm made of atoms, you're made of atoms, and we're all in this together. And long division just doesn't matter, 'cause we're all in this together, yeah. I saw you walking in the city, we're all in this together. The city's changing, 'cause we are changing, and we're all in this together. Every 12 seconds, someone remembers that we're all in this together. In the kitchen of your rent control apartment, we're all in this together. Well, come on, baby, I don't mean to rush you. I only wanted to reach out and touch you. I've got to start to open my heart. I know you think about jumping ship before it sinks, but we're all in this together. Ask a scientist, it's quantum physics, we are all in this together. And on the subway, we feel like strangers, but we're all in this together. Yeah, I love you and you love her and she loves him, but we are all in this together. You know, baby, there's never been protection in all the history of human connection. Come on, darling, it's alright to show me you don't ever need to be lonely once you start to open your heart. I saw you crying, I started crying, 'cause we're all in this together. And then religion is a big decision, but we're all in this together. Yeah, we are all in this together. We're all in this together. We're all in this together. We are all in this together. We are all in this together. We're all in this together. We're all in this together. We're all in this together.
Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship at Stony Brook. Thank you to our musicians for inviting us all this morning to be together and in this together. My name is Deborah Little, and I'm the Director of Religious Education for this congregation. On the first Sunday of each month, when we met in person, we would have all of the children with us for a tale for all ages. We continue to offer this story as we meet virtually. Today's story is about the creation of a miracle. It's called Swimmy, and it's by Leo Leone. A happy school of little fish lived in a corner of the sea somewhere. They were all red. Only one of them was as black as a mussel shell. He swam faster than his brothers and sisters. His name was Swimmy. One day, a tuna fish, swift, fierce, and very hungry, came darting through the waves. In one gulp, he swallowed all the little red fish. Only Swimmy escaped. He swam away in the deep, wet world. He was scared, lonely, and very sad. But the sea was full of wonderful creatures, and as he swam from marvel to marvel, Swimmy was happy again. He saw a Medusa made of rainbow jelly, a lobster who walked about like a water-moving machine, strange fish pulled by an invisible thread, a forest of seaweeds growing from sugar candy rocks, an eel whose tail was almost too far away to remember, and sea anemones who looked like pink palm trees swaying in the wind. Then, hidden in the dark shade of the rocks and weeds, a school of fish just like his own. "Let's go and swim and play and see things," he said happily. "We can't," said the little red fish. "The big fish will eat us all." "But you can't just lie there," said Swimmy. "We must think of something." Swimmy thought and thought and thought. Then suddenly he said, "I have it! We are going to swim all together like the biggest fish in the sea." He taught them to swim close together, each in his own place. And when they had learned to swim like one giant fish, he said, "I'll be the eye." And so they swam in the cool morning water and in the midday sun and chased the big fish away. Amen.
Good morning, dear ones, and welcome on this sunny, almost spring-like morning to the online service at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Stony Brook. My name is June Cerveny, and I am happy to be your worship associate this morning, co-leading this service with Ken Marino, a member of our congregation who is presently studying at Drew Theological School in New Jersey. Deb Little is our Director of Religious Education, and our children's worship happens every Sunday from 9:45 to 10:15. I'd like to offer a special welcome to anyone who is new to our fellowship, and I hope that you find among us inspiration for living and nourishment for your spirit. Unitarian Universalism as a living tradition has two big foundations: freedom of belief and an orientation toward inclusion, interdependence, and justice. You can find additional information about the 7 principles that we strive to live by on our webpage at uufsb.org. At the conclusion of our morning service, we will have a brief meet and greet coffee hour. It does take a few moments to get everybody admitted, so please be patient, and soon you will be able to wave to all the beautiful people in the little boxes. After this greeting time, we encourage you to join one of the small group chats by leaving the main meeting room and signing back into the small group chats meeting link on our webpage or in the newsfeed. Refill your coffee and be sure to share some quality time with fellow members or maybe a new friend. I invite us now into the sacred space of worship with the sounding of the morning bell.
Good morning. As I light this chalice, I invite everyone to light a candle or chalice in your own home or sanctuary this day. The words are by the Reverend Peter Samachsky, minister with the Prague Unitarian Congregation in the Czech Republic. May this flame we light remind us that every one of us can bring the light of love to the world. May the wisdom of the ages speak to us through this flame and stay in us. Every one of us can be a blessing in the world.
For our opening words this morning, we will hear one of the most beloved miracle stories of the New Testament, in which Jesus provides both spiritual and material food for the people who have come to be with him. In listening, we recall those times in our own lives when, hungry or yearning, we have been nourished by a miracle of generous love. The poet David White, in his poem Loaves and Fishes, tells us, "This is the time of loaves and fishes. People are hungry, and one good word is bread for 1,000." The reading is from John chapter 6, verses 1 and 2 and 5 through 13. Sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of Galilee, that is the Sea of Tiberias, and a great crowd of people followed him because they saw the signs he had performed, healing the sick. When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming toward him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?" He asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. Philip answered him, "It would take more than half a year's wages to buy enough bread for each one to have even a bite." Another of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up. "There is a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish, but how far will they go among so many?" Jesus said, "Have the people sit down." There was plenty of grass in that place, and they sat down. About 5,000 men were there. Then Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed them to those who were seated, as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. When they had all had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, "Gather the pieces that are left over. Let nothing be wasted." So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. Our opening hymn this morning is number 1008, "When Our Heart is in a Holy Place." I invite you to join in singing, humming, praising the holy place where community lives.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart when our heart is in a holy place. We are blessed with love and amazing grace, when our heart is in a holy place. When we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our hearts stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace, when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Our responsive reading this morning is by Amanda Udis Kessler. It speaks to us of miracles that we encounter as good gifts freely given in the world, and also to the miracles we ourselves call into existence. Ken will read the regular type on the slides that will be shown on the screen, and I ask everyone to join with me in the response.
A planet is born, a spark ignites, something completely new comes into being.
We give thanks for the miracle of life.
A waterfall descends, a rainbow arc through the sky. The ocean opens to an endless horizon.
We give thanks for the miracle of beauty.
The stars pierce our hearts. Peace envelops us. We are blessed.
We give thanks for the miracle of wonder.
In the midst of pain, we find our way to hope and restoration.
We give thanks for the miracle of healing.
In the midst of fear, we do what is right and speak our truth in faith.
We give thanks for the miracle of courage.
In our aloneness, we see someone in greater need and offer ourselves to them.
We give thanks for the miracle of compassion.
We gather in community, in relationship, in friendship, and we cherish each other.
We give thanks for the miracle of love.
Good morning. It is a pleasure to be with you here today. We will now enter into a time of meditation. I will read a short poem by Natalie Fenimore, We Are Called. We will then enter into a minute of silent meditation. Peter and Dee Dee will lead us out with Spirit of Life. We are called by the wind, the rushing water, the fireflies, the summer sun, called by the sidewalk, the playground, the laughing children, the streetlights, called by our appetites and gifts, our needs and challenges, called by the bottle, the needle, the powder, the pill, the game, the bet, the need, the want, the pain, the cure, the love, the hope, the dream. Called by the spirit of love and hope, the vision of God's purpose for our lives. We are called. How do we choose? How do we answer?
It is our spiritual practice to encourage generosity by taking an offering that will be shared between our fellowship and an agency doing the work of social justice. Our Share the Plate recipient for the month of March is New Hour for Women and Children, Long Island. This agency was founded to provide meaningful support to current and formerly incarcerated women and to their children and families. They promote successful reentry, health and wellness, and parenting programs here in Suffolk County at both the Riverhead and Yaphank locations. They also advocate for reform of the criminal justice system. They sponsor leadership and advocacy training programs that empower directly impacted people to use their experiences to effect change. During this time when we cannot take a collection in person, please continue to send your very much needed pledge payments and contributions to social justice. All are received with much gratitude.
Love is but a song we sing, fear's the way we die. You can't make the mountains ring or make the angels cry. Though the bird is on the wing and you may not know why. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to live.
Some will come and some will go, and we shall surely pass. When the one that left us here returns for us at last, we are but a moment's sunlight fading in the grass. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now.
Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now.
If you hear the song I sing, you will understand. Listen. You hold the key to love and fear, all in your trembling hand. Just one key unlocks them both. It's there at your command. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. I said, come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now, right now, right now.
Wonderful. Thank you very much to our musicians. It's a pleasure to be with you here today. I'm so delighted that I'm a member of this congregation, a supportive and loving congregation that is a congregation of action. I thank you all for your continued support of my ministerial formation. I am attending Drew University in Madison, New Jersey, which has offered me a broad range of diversity, as it prides itself on being one of the most diverse seminaries in the United States. It also has offered me the opportunity to study the Bible, so I am going to discuss with you a little bit of what I've learned here today. Contemporary scholars view the Bible as a rich framework of creation, struggle, liberation, that unveil deeply seated truths breathing below the surface of the narratives. Not unlike the story in a novel or a film, but it is a story that struggles with the profound truths of human existence through the mirror of history. The pandemic has pointed to this struggle. We face issues as a global community that seem to have apocalyptic proportions. I say apocalyptic as in a call for renewal, a new revelation, an awakening, a new story of what it means to live within community. The Bible stories were written for challenging times like these, when communities struggled and longed for a miracle. As the pandemic moves on, life seems to go on in many ways. Religious services continue, though they have been rethought and reinvented. Bills need to be paid, regardless of whether or not income is incoming. And at the high point, of course, we had the election. Stress seemed to increase beyond limits of what was bearable. And then an ending, one that saw a much needed release of tension and stress for many, with joy and optimism, a moment that we could finally breathe in, to inspire, to feel the spirit of life with a new vision, maybe a broken vision, maybe one not yet fully formed, with cracks waiting to be filled and relationships waiting to be mended, but a view of optimism and hope. It may seem like a miracle when much needed change comes, but we know that this miracle came with a lot of hard work. Millions of calls through UU the Vote and Stacey Abrams turning the Peach State blue. Abrams formed the organization Fair Fight to push her policy priorities, and supporters credit her with contributing to an increase of 800,000 registered voters in Georgia since 2016. Now that is a lot of votes in a state of 11 million people. 24,473,633 people voted blue, and Biden won by a margin of only 0.2% of the vote. Abrams created a miracle by expanding an existing coalition of first-time voters, many of them young voters. They broke the historical trend of Georgia and exemplified how we can truly create change through voting. But Abrams added, "I appreciate the support and the accolades, but I want to keep reminding folks that it took millions of votes and hundreds of people and organizations to get this work done. And it was a 10-year journey," she said. "While I'm deeply proud of my work and the role that I played, I want to always be certain that we give credit to all of the groups and all of the people who work together to make this happen." The American people are an optimistic people with a longing for the miraculous. We love the heroic. It makes the impossible seem real, and our lives seem extraordinary, like the story of Captain Chelsea Sully Sullenberger III, whose heroism in 2009 came to be known as the Miracle on the Hudson. You may remember the story of how Flight 1549 was on its way from New York City to Charlottesville, North Carolina, when it struck a flock of geese, forcing the plane to make an emergency landing in the Hudson River. Captain Sullenberger, Sully, quickly determined he could not reach LaGuardia. He piloted the plane to a safe landing, and thanks to his heroic actions, all 100 people on board survived. Sully relates to this day, quote, "when an unforeseen crisis impacted the lives of many and forced passengers, crew members, and first responders to overcome the unknown by doing one thing, working together," end quote. Captain Sully affirmed that the miracle was a communal effort when he, his crew, the passengers and first responders worked together to survive their fate. It was an expression of community where all were essential. You may recall the loaves and fishes story, also known as the feeding of the 5,000, where Jesus is viewed as a kind of magician, pulling a rabbit out of a hat, or in this case, loaves and fish, when he feeds the 5,000 with only 5 loaves and 2 fish. But I believe this portrayal diminishes what Jesus actually did. Viewing Jesus' acts of faith as a simple magician's trick detracts from their deeper meaning. Jesus' miracle here on the Sea of Galilee is no deception. Let's imagine that its significance is more practical, no less miraculous, but an exercise of faith that speaks to the meaning of grace through gratitude and generosity in community. We read the story as narrated in the Gospel of John, which diverges from the reading in the other 3 Gospels in its use of diminution. Andrew tells Jesus that a tiny little boy has 5 small loaves of barley bread, a bread eaten by the poor. The fish are aspario in Greece, tiny little fish. This was an evening gathering where many had brought food. Jesus blesses the loaves and fish, and the power of which moved the multitudes, as did the symbol of the little boy with his little fish who gave all that he had. Jesus' blessing sanctified the bread as a gift of God where all were to be grateful. We can imagine that he explained that what we have comes not through our hands alone. It comes as a gift from the earth through the work and sharing of community, through which sharing as a meal, its gift feeds the community. It brings the community to life. His gratitude and compassion for all was heard, especially for those who hungered. The multitude's hearts were changed. Jesus performed the miracle of getting those who brought more food than they needed, to share with those who had none. There was no difference between the meager gift of the little boy and the offer of all to give, regardless of what they had. In his book, The Generosity Path, Unitarian Universalist author Mark Avert calls this justice giving, giving in a way that empowers all of the community. The author accounts that the richness of life and its depth are found in giving. Generosity reveals the truest expression of humanity. The story of the loaves and fishes resonates as well with the justice giving inherent in the Jewish text known as the Sanhedrin. It is a legal text, and in chapter 4, verse 5, it states that we were all created from one human being, one Adam in Hebrew. The universalism of humanity is expressed in the common origin of all. For when Adam was alone, to save one human was to save the entirety of humanity. Through the generosity of restoring one life, one can restore life for all. The key feature of justice giving is giving with an awareness of how our giving affects the receiver. We want to give in a way that liberates and empowers the receiver. It calls for us to understand where and how our gifts are being used and the effects of their use. It asks us to enter into the spirit of generosity to empower the full communal body. Such giving undermines separation. It is when we identify ourselves with the other that the true miracle of generosity occurs. That was the miracle that Jesus performed. He commissioned each to fully enter into the spirit of giving. When we live in our lives in a way that understands the interconnectedness that our principles honor, we become involved with the care for the other as ourself. And this is when the true miracle of generosity occurs. We can create a just society where all can flourish and thrive by realizing that what we have does not belong to ourselves alone, but our gifts are to be shared, for it is within community that the true meanings of our gifts are truly revealed. Amen and blessed be.
Our closing hymn is number 131, Love Will Guide Us, a hymn that carries the DNA of our Universalist tradition, with its vision that it is our generosity and love that change the world. As we enter the month of March, Women's History Month, I note that the name of the tune for this hymn, as mentioned in our hymnal, is Olympia. UU Minister Kimberly Du Bois tells us that it was named in honor of Olympia Brown, who was the first woman ordained as a minister in the United States with the full consent of her denomination in 1863. She was a Universalist. She is also one of the first generations of suffragists who lived long enough to vote after the passing of the 19th Amendment in 1920. The way she went was hard, but nevertheless, she persisted. Let us join in singing.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the hard night. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Our closing words this morning are a poem by Mary Oliver. It has been just a year since her death, and she is deeply missed. This poem is called Logos. Why worry about the loaves and fishes? If you say the right words, the wine expands. If you say them with love and the felt necessity of that love, the fish explode into many. Imagine him speaking, and don't worry about what is reality, or what is plain, or what is mysterious. If you were there, it was all those things. If you can imagine it, it is all those things. Eat, drink, be happy, accept the miracle. Accept, too, each spoken word, spoken with love.
Our time together is finished, but our work is not done. May our spirits be renewed and our resolve strengthened as we meet the challenge of working toward miracles for ourselves and for the world.
The benediction comes from Wayne B. Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard. The path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone.
We can change the world with our own two hands, make a better place with our own two hands, make a kinder place with our own two hands, with our own two hands. We can make peace on earth with our own two hands, and we can clean up the earth with our own two hands, and we can do miracles